Hey guys, welcome to Talk Crypto. It's going to be a bit of a chilled one tonight with no guests. So just you and me hanging out. I thought I'd still jump on. Just been running around a little bit, which is why I'm trying to do these at sort of 8:30, 7:30 UTC time. Got to try and think internationally these days, not just in the UK. Yeah, so just been running around a little bit late. No guests. Again, this show is really going to be driven by the community and again, people on board to get themselves involved and having chats and all the rest of it. But you know what? As we're a very, very new channel, I thought it's really important just to still put myself out there, still try and give you guys value. If you're out there, we can sort of grow the channel together, and obviously we can I can sort of do some ramblings, which is this is going to be a little bit, to be honest with you. As you'll see, we've got a little bit more light, so you can see my face a bit better. Somebody was commenting the other day that they like the Buddha, and but they thought this was some sort of weed thing. I can tell you now, it's not. It's this is all my wife's doing, by the way. You know, I can't take the either the praise or the criticism, but it's basically a massive candle. I don't know if you can see it. I'm not going to bother me with the camera, but it's a huge monster candle. And basically, we've just shoved it in the corner out of the way until we decide what we're going to do with it. I think we've had a bit of a moving stuff around. Anyway, yeah, so I've got my beer. I've just, like I said, been rushing around. So I'm quite glad just to be sitting down, chilling out for a bit. Kids are in bed and we can just have a little natter about crypto. And actually what I wanted to talk about is not, I'll touch on a bit of the news, but also just the potential of Bitcoin and the wider space. But before we dive into it, let me just quickly crack open a beer and we can get going, really. So this is tricky, isn't it, with one hand? Let me just put this down. So what we've got. So this channel was previously associated with my financial services business in the UK. So a lot of the subscribers on there currently would have come from that you know, that world, and you know, I guess looking for information about finance and what have you. So for that user group and for those people who are tuning in and will catch up with this video at a later date, I've obviously left financial services industry, and it's a transition that I've been working on for a number of years. But again, this isn't financial advice, and this is really applicable to everybody, because my whole point of doing this is really just to help educate people in terms of what the opportunities are and the realities of things. You know, as we all do, well, I certainly, have spoken to friends, and not too many friends because I haven't wanted to put down people's throats, but certainly very close family, my parents, and ultimately because I know the huge potential, the huge power, the huge opportunity, and also I guess that sovereignty, self-sovereignty, which Bitcoin provides. And it's a really hard concept for people who haven't had this sort of exposure or I guess enlightenment. And it took me a number of years to really sort of I guess firstly take the to dip my toe in the water type thing. I first came across Bitcoin in 2012, and I think I was intrigued by the blockchain technology and the potential to do transactions on a blockchain, and you don't then you can get rid of middlemen, which is very much where I was in the financial services sector, very traditional market, as indeed you can say a lot of industries, whether it's accountancy, legal, and all the rest of it. And I could see then that there was the opportunity and potential to completely disrupt the sector. You thought, well, if everything can be done on the blockchain, then what is the point of having intermediaries? Ultimately you can have it all, just done between the relevant parties. So as ever, we always take a few goes before we pick up on something. I think they say it's something like 7. You got to hear something 7 times before you actually probably do something about it. And then it was sort of, again, it was on the radar, but nothing sort of too much. I didn't really know you could buy Bitcoin. I didn't really sort of look into it any further. Then 2017 came around, and I can't remember why, but again, something must have triggered in my mind, or maybe I've seen something, read something, and I think I was very, very close to sort of pulling the trigger at that point. Didn't happen. So it wasn't really until late 2020 that I finally again, I can't recall what the realization was or what the trigger was, but it was very much, oh, you know what, this has been in my mind since 2017 and I haven't done anything about it. God damn it, I'm going to do something about it. Right, how the hell do I go about buying some Bitcoin? And the first thing I did was I probably dropped my mate a text and said, hey, do you remember chatting about this? Did you do anything about it? And he said, no, I didn't do anything about it. I've been thinking about it lately. What do you reckon? He said, yeah, you know what? It's been in the back of my mind. So it was quite helpful in many respects, because we almost all helped each other, and very much, were there, because it's such a, I guess, one is a bit of a wild west. 2 is, it's a bit of a techie thing. It's not that techie when you start digging into it and realizing it. Well, it can be, and I'm certainly not techie. I work in the tech sector, but I'm not techie. So that was really helpful, and having somebody to bounce off and talk about the latest movements and markets and news and all the rest of it. So 2021 was incredible, and then he very much got into much more the NFT space. Hopefully he'll be coming on the show when I can sort of persuade him and drag him on, because ultimately this show is really about almost like having those conversations like you do with your friends, and whether it's in popping over the house and having a conversation, down the pub, having a beer. It's very much informal, casual chat, and we can just talk about the topics. And it's not, the show isn't about giving you tips or telling you, pretending to be an expert. We'll get other people to provide that expert opinion. I don't want to be doing that, and I'd rather just sort of facilitate that sort of learning process for you guys. Because equally, there's so much to know, and this space is so massive, and there's so many new projects always coming along, and there's so many techie quirks, and I'm too busy to dive too deep into the weeds, if I'm honest. I've got a family, got 2 boys, I've got a wife, I've got a couple of businesses, and this channel is just about trying to facilitate helping people like I want to help my family to discover it, because you can't really throw it down people's throats. People need to discover it themselves, and they need to come to that realization themselves. So I'm not talking to my friends about it really. In fact, I'm not at all, other than the ones who are already involved. And because again, I don't want to be persuading people. People need to discover it. So this channel is a way for, hopefully, for you to discover it, and ask questions, get engaged. What I'd love to do is get some of the community not just to write comments, but actually, we're going to set up a little virtual green room, and we'll have a few people chatting about a topic. Maybe we'll be slating your particular project because we I want to actually make people think carefully about what projects they get into. Like I said, I'm not an expert on every single project by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, I'd love to get other people in the community on the show ad hoc, They're in a green room. They can come in, share their view. They can disagree, educate us, enlighten us, tell us why we're right, tell us why we're wrong. We'll just say hi, and then you can go, or just put comments in the chat. So the whole idea is just to do it live. It's easy. I don't have to do any editing, all that sort of stuff. It's a bit raw, and we'll go from there. So talking about Bitcoin in particular, and the wider digital asset space, I think one thing for newbies, because I think I'd like to sort of help educate new people come into the market, like a lot of the channels who are much bigger helped educate me. That was something I just sort of really sort of enjoyed, and I'm not a big reader. It doesn't really interest me, but I watch videos and listen to podcasts and things like that. So in many respects, I want to keep this channel very basic. I don't want to get too technical, but in simple terms, I think it's important for people to distinguish between Bitcoin and every other crypto or digital asset, however you want to phrase it. Very much think of Bitcoin as the king, and also very much as the digital gold, the true money. Whereas the other digital assets, think of them as more technology, as startup businesses. So, and obviously that's got nothing to do with how fast one will grow compared to another, the returns on one versus the other. There's no doubt there'll be plenty of crypto projects out there that will grow a lot faster than Bitcoin will. Bitcoin's not going to grow at the same speed it has in the past. Well, unlikely. We don't know. That's the reality. So think of them as two distinct things. Absolutely vital. And again, I don't want to keep bleating on. This is not financial advice. This is literally, don't trust anything I say. I'm some dude, having a beer, having a chat. Don't do not take my advice at all. Do your own research. Figure out yourself. Listen to other people. Take responsibility. But this is just my ramblings. And but Bitcoin will be here forever. One would assume. One would hope so. Again, we can never be sure of anything. A lot of the crypto projects won't necessarily be, and that's been seen through multiple cycles. However, so have the core, most important, the king that started this, incredibly important, and don't ever think that it's too expensive. You can buy, fractions of the Bitcoin, and those fractions of the Bitcoin, well, we'll talk about what the potential is in a bit. So don't ever think that it's too expensive. If you invest a £10 and it multiplies, that's still a multiplication of that £10. So you can buy a fraction of it and stick it away and let it grow. So don't ever think Bitcoin's just for the rich men and women, and not for you. 100%. It's absolutely vital that you have some skin in the game there. Like I said, it's a very distinct asset class versus the other digital currencies and crypto projects. In terms of the other crypto projects, again, I think it's just a case of taking your pick, doing your research. And again, I'm not going to sort of talk about which ones. I don't want to be doing that. I've got obviously my favorites, but again, I don't want to get technical. I don't want to go into sort of deep dives. I haven't got the time. And I haven't got the headspace, and I haven't got the planning time to be able to deliver that type of value to you guys. But do your own research. There's tons of great channels out there who do deep dives. Maybe we'll get some project founders or other people, people who are heavily involved in different spaces to come on board and do that. That's fine. But just think about the two distinct asset classes as very, very different. Think of as pure money, as digital gold, as true money. That's maybe a nice way to say it. Something that isn't going to be eaten away by inflation. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that's ever going to be around, and of course, a lot of those have already been lost. So there's a finite supply, and there's a huge number of people who still haven't adopted it, but are starting to adopt it. And not only just Joe Public, but we're talking about massive institutions. If you just think about, how many people in the world, how much money there is within BlackRock and all these other institutions, it's almost beyond sort of mental capacity of what is the potential. And it's funny, last night I was talking to this guy called Jeff. You can see it on the live stream, or one of the previous videos, and we were just laughing and talking stories about how you look back and when Bitcoin was, I don't know, $2,000, and at the time, obviously, you look back now and go, oh blimey, I should have sold everything and bought as much as I possibly could. But of course, at the time, you don't know that, and at the time, you buy what you feel comfortable with. But the point is, you've almost got to try and imagine what it's going to be like. Okay, in another 5 years, we're talking about the next cycle around the corner. What's that? 6 months away? March, April 2024. Not that long. Then we're going to have a bit of a bull run, no doubt. And they'll go into 2025. So what we're in, we're 23. So, we're talking about 2 years. So when I'm saying 5 years, I mean, 5 years in the grand schemes of things. Well, we're talking 28. We're going into the second cycle, and the next cycle then. So you don't have to be in this market for that long as an investor. And to be honest with you, as an investor, you should be having much longer horizons, much longer perspective in terms of investment strategies anyway. But the point is, if you have a bit of patience and you can zoom out and imagine, okay, what is it likely to be? You don't know. But what you don't want to do is look back and go, God, do you remember when Bitcoin was 26, 27, 30K? Wow, that was cheap. Wow, if only I knew then what I know now. And that's been the whole history of Bitcoin, literally the whole history. And you go back and you watch these old videos and you go, God, blimey, and there was people buying pizzas with 50 Bitcoin or whatever it was. But I mean, I don't need to say anymore. I think you get the gist. So think of them two different asset classes, and just be sensible. But if you're new to the space and you've discovered this channel now, and you're thinking about getting into, maybe get some Bitcoin, you're incredibly fortunate. The market hasn't really started yet. You're going to be probably buying at the bottom, or thereabouts. I mean, obviously it went down to Bitcoin went down to 15K. You're never going to hit the tops. You're never going to hit the very bottoms. But blimey, I think there's a long way to go. And it's going to be, it's really interesting. I listen to a lot of things, but I listened to the sentiment, and I listened to my gut. And it wasn't that long ago that it was all very negative. It was all pain, and it was like the world was ending. And it was literally not long ago. And it was, all the YouTube videos, all over Twitter, X, I mean, and it's been like that for a long time. But very recently, you can see the trend is changing. That, I guess, obviously, the anticipation of the next halving is coming closer. So that's obviously why. But it's just really interesting how the psychology and the wave of positivity is starting to emerge, and this big tidal wave that's way out there is getting closer, and it's getting closer. And most people won't see it until it's literally on the shoreline, which is when everyone starts diving in, going, "Oh my God, I got to get some." but if you can be, smart, and a bit more sophisticated, and take the time to educate yourself, and be willing to take risk, you'll do well, I'm sure. So that was just a little ramblings around Bitcoin, and the digital assets. In terms of like price, again, I don't really want to be talking about, speculative prices and what I think what's going to happen. I've titled this show "The Unlimited Journey" for Bitcoin because it is a journey, and putting a price on Bitcoin, I think it's a completely ridiculous, and not for the reasons you may think. The obvious reason you may be thinking is because, Bitcoin to million, that's just stupid, or Bitcoin to 10 million, that's just stupid. It's just a big price, and it's like 100 million or a billion. It's such a big price. Obviously, it's stupid. No, that's not my reason. If anything, those numbers could be so insignificant to what it could be is the reason that it's stupid. And obviously, we don't know what that potential is, but it is literally an unlimited potential, because you've got multiple factors at play here. One is the debasement of fiat currency. I can remember when you could buy, this is going to tell my age. I can remember when you could buy a Snickers bar, Mars bar, I don't know, what was it? It was like 20p, 25p. It's now about £1. So in, I don't know, what, X number of years, I don't know, 20 years? I can't even remember. The amount my money can buy is significantly less than before. And it's not because that Mars bar suddenly become just more expensive. It's just more of a luxury item. It's literally because the pound in my pocket doesn't buy as much as it used to be able to. And that's not stopping. And it's only going to accelerate, and more money printing is going to come because the governments are addicted to it. So as they do that, the value of money just diminishes. With that said, that's going to have obviously an impact on any asset, not just, including Bitcoin. So not just, what you can get in terms of your shopping, in terms of assets you can buy, property wise, asset prices will continue to go up. Not because they're actually getting more expensive, it's because the value of your pound's going down, or your dollar, or whatever it is. So every asset class, including BTC, will go up and seem more expensive when actually it's the debasement of fiat currency. And that's a trend that's going to continue. So not only have you got that in play, you've also got the fact that you've got these two things that are sort of converging. So you've got that, as well as the fact that you've got a huge amount of adoption that's coming. Institutional adoption, not just Joe Public suddenly realizing, oh shit, my mate's got some, I better get some. Yes, that'll happen, but institutional adoption, pension funds put it on their balance sheets, all these types of things. It is, sovereign, countries putting it on their balance sheets. So, it's already happening. So you've got those things happening, and you've got a finite, literally, that is it, 21 million. It's not like they can print any more. So it's unimaginable where Bitcoin could be. So when I was talking earlier about just don't worry about, but don't think it's too expensive for you, just buy a fraction of a Bitcoin, whatever that is, get as many Satoshis, buy consistently, dollar cost average. Don't just chuck all your money in. Spread it out. 10 quid a week, 5 quid a week, 1 quid a week, anything. I can't remember his name, but there's a great guy who says every month, try and have more Bitcoin than you did have last month. Just keep stacking, because it's going to pay off. So so it's we love to dream. It's quite exciting. It's quite exciting to, you get that dopamine rush when you watch those moon boy videos. But genuinely, it's probably unimaginable, which is why I think these price predictions are completely pointless, because no one knows. But one thing we do know is there's a finite amount, and there isn't anymore. And it's the first and only money that have got these certain properties. Google them. I'm not going to try and sort of think of them off the top of my head, which are just ridiculous. So yeah, Google the fundamental, foundation principles of Bitcoin. The core elements of Bitcoin. Why is Bitcoin important? So do your own research. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting future, but don't expect it's going to happen overnight. Don't fall for the usual rubbish, which you will see on YouTube. It'll be everywhere. Of people making millions overnight. Yes, that will happen, which is just nuts. It's just crazy. It will happen. But it's not going to happen to you. So don't fall for it. Don't get sucked in. Just have a longer time frame. Have a little bit more patience, because there's a lot of you younger guys who are desperate just to, get that Lambo and do it tomorrow. You need it now. Just have patience. You'll do a lot better off long term if you have a bit of patience and just zoom out. And just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. That was a classic mistake I made a little bit. Was you start discovering something, you go, oh yeah, I'm going to be clever and all the rest of it. And I mentioned this in one of my other videos. But just keep it simple. It's very, very unlikely, if you want to trade, that you're going to be a good trader. If you're not a professional trader, I wouldn't even bother. But again, some people love it. I haven't got the time or patience to do it. So yeah, listen, that was enough of the ramblings. I've really, it was just a bit of a quick sort of chat. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you are watching the video, I'd really, really appreciate if you can give it a like. It doesn't cost you anything, but it massively, massively helps me out, helps the channel out, and helps get the message out there. Whenever I watch a video, I always just give it a like, because I appreciate that creator has actually spent his time or her time to actually put some content out there, which is of value. Even if I get a little bit of value of it, even if I disagree with it, just give them a like, and that's just not just me, but every creator. And you know what? If you got any value out of it, please subscribe. I'd massively appreciate it. And I've got some really interesting guests lined up, so we can have a proper talk crypto chat with some friends, and we can just dive into a bit more banter and talk some news. So listen, lovely to have you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. Take care.